I slept at the Buffalo State Asylum. No, I wasn't a patient. I was a visitor. But it's a very interesting story. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Sandy from Sandy Over 70. Thanks for watching. I hope you'll subscribe and give me a like if you enjoy this video. So, let me tell you the story of what happened. It was a few years ago, before the pandemic, and I was invited to a wedding in Buffalo, New York. At that time, it was called the Hotel Henry, and it was in the Buffalo State Hospital building, where I remembered it when I was going to nursing school. That's where we took our psychiatric rotation, so I was very intrigued. Now, in those days, and this was in the 60s, the nursing students from all the local hospitals would spend 3 months at the Buffalo State Hospital for their psych rotation. With my class, we were the first ones not to go there, and instead, we took our rotation in the general hospital where we were training. We spent 3 months there on an open psychiatric unit. It must have been a good experience for me because after I graduated, I worked on a psychiatric unit in a general hospital for 2 years. It was built on over 200 acres, and it had a central tower building and 5 buildings flanking it on either side. And these buildings were connected by curved corridors. This was to prevent overcrowding at the state hospital, which commonly happened because they would be unable to put rows and rows of beds in curved corridors. In the 1960s, when I was in nursing school, it became overcrowded despite those curved connecting corridors. And actually, I think that the schools of nursing decided this wasn't the best place to put hundreds of young women for their psychiatric experience because the therapeutic design and planning at this point failed with the overcrowding. And the stories I heard from returning students were kind of scary thing. So right before it was my turn to go there, my nursing school changed their curriculum, and I spent the 3 months in a general hospital. In the early 70s, it actually closed down and was abandoned, and they moved all of the patients out. It must have been done very quickly, because I'm going to show you photos where they literally left the sheets on the beds. So let me go back to my story of the wedding. So I received the wedding invitation, and of course I accepted it because I always kind of felt that I may have missed out on something by not taking my psychiatric experience in a state hospital. I checked the webpage, and they were offering tours of the old buildings just as they were and just as they are now. They had taken the central building and I believe 2 of the wings and totally renovated it into a gorgeous hotel. They did a beautiful job on the renovation. I could hardly believe what they had done. So we went and checked into my room. It was magnificent. You just don't see ceilings that high anymore. The wedding itself took place outside. It was beautiful. The reception took place in a huge hall. There were hundreds of people. It was the most elaborate and probably the most expensive wedding I have ever attended in my entire life. I could go on and on about that, but I'll stick to the hotel. So I made sure that I came a day early so that I could take the tour of the old buildings. I believe we were issued masks. I mean, I can't remember if I had a mask on or not, but let me just say this, I should have. Because we walked through these hallways. It was like a ghost town. There was all of this dust in the air, and the paint on the ceilings and the walls had crumbled off. I mean, this is from the 1970s, and it has not been touched. And so it was crumbling off. It was all over the floor, and you could see it in the air. And they walked us through these hallways, which are identical to the ones that they've renovated, so that you could see what it was and what it is now. It was just mind-boggling. All I could think about was how absolutely horrible it would be to come here into these buildings at night with no light, how absolutely scary it would be. Our wings for the hotel were attached, but of course they looked nothing like this. I'm sure that there are ghost stories attached to these buildings. I can't imagine that there wouldn't be. There were some horrifying things that happened in these buildings. And again, it's so sad because the intention of the physician who developed the system for treatment was never anything but the best intention. And I think initially there were good results, and it operated the way he intended. The neglected Buffalo State Asylum reopened in 2017 as Hotel Henry. Time magazine actually listed it in the top 100 greatest places in the world in 2018. So I was there in 2018. I enjoyed the hotel. The walking through the abandoned buildings was amazing. There are 13 buildings in the complex. 3 have been renovated and turned into Hotel Henry. All the rest are standing there in a state of animated ruin, and then the pandemic struck. And the beautiful Hotel Henry, which had received millions of dollars from both private and government sources, closed its doors. But I just checked, and it's open again. It was purchased by another company, and it is open for business again. I'm so happy because it's such a unique and beautiful place. And I hope that they'll be able to renovate more of these buildings. If you ever get to Buffalo, New York, you must stop in and see this hotel. And if possible, take the tour. Have you been there? If you have, please tell us in the comments below. I'd love to know about it. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.